So one of the great things about the DJI Osmo Action 6 is DJI makes it quite easy to capture an incredible night lapse with the right settings. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what those settings are that are going to get you the very best results with this camera. And I'm also going to provide you with several samples throughout this video that I filmed using the Action 6 at nighttime. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to get into time-lapse mode. So you're going to click down here and you're going to go all the way over here to time-lapse mode. Once we're in time-lapse mode, we're going to click down here in the bottom and you're going to first of all make sure up here that it's 4K 30. Now, whether you do 4K 30 4:3 or 16:9, it ultimately doesn't matter. The reason you would want to do 4:3 is if you want some of that cropping flexibility later on, where you can add some motion or reframe your time lapse. But if you don't care about that, just do 4K 16:9 right here. If you do care about that, do 4K 4:3. And then for frames per second, make sure it's in 30. And then over here, I like to do the natural wide, but there are other options. You can go all the way down to wide, or you can go up here to standard D-warp. But my personal recommendation is natural wide. And then a little tip here on the side, you want to set screen off. That way you're going to get the most out of your battery during a night lapse, even if you have it plugged in with a power bank, which I do recommend. I'll share a link to my favorite one in the description below. But if you're going to be capturing a time lapse for more than a couple hours, I recommend having it powered up with a power bank. And then down here, make sure it's set to custom. And then you're going to swipe up to set parameters. So because the sensor on the Action 6 is pretty good in size, we don't have to do as long of an interval as we would have to do with a camera with a smaller sensor. So my personally preferred interval is about 20 seconds on here. For the duration, I like to do infinity. Infinity is going to let this run until you stop it. Once you've set those, we're going to swipe down and we're going to click over here on the right. So first of all, make sure Pro is selected up here. If Pro is not selected, it's going to look like this, and that's not the options we need. We need more options than that. So select Pro, and then what you first of all want to do is you want to go over here to white balance, and we want to set this to 3800K for nighttime. Once you've selected that, you can hit the check mark. For the variable aperture, we have two options here. You can do fixed f2.8, or you can do starburst f4. Now, starburst might sound like something you want to have this set to at nighttime, or it may sound like a favorite candy of yours, but you want to put this to fixed f2.8. The reason for that is f2.8 is a wider aperture, and we want to let as much light in as possible. And then for the format down here, you can do video plus JPEG, or you can do video plus RAW. My recommendation is doing video plus RAW. It is going to take up more space on your micro SD card or the internal storage, but video plus RAW does give you those raw photos later on if you want to edit them and get the very best detail out of your night lapse. Those raw photos are going to let you do that, and then you could put those photos together on a timeline to create a time lapse. But if you are sure you don't want those photos, you can just do video here, and it's going to give you a video file, but the video file is not going to give you quite as much flexibility. You're only going to be able to brighten it and adjust it so much. But then finally, the real key setting up here is exposure. Currently it's set to auto, but we do not want it set to auto for night lapse. But what we do want to do is we want to click the M over here, and then for ISO value, you can do either 800 or 1600. So what I personally find is I find that 800 is often enough on here to get a really good exposure for a night sky. But if it's a super dark sky and you're doing an interval of 20 seconds, then you may want to do 1600 for your ISO. The noise reduction in this mode is pretty solid, so don't hesitate to go to 1600 if you need to. It's not going to be too noisy. But in all of my samples I captured, I did do an ISO of 800, and it was more than enough. And then down here for shutter speed, we're going to toggle way down here, and we want to get this to a shutter speed of 15 seconds. And the reason for that is because our interval is 20 seconds, on the DJI cameras, it won't allow you to do a shutter speed that's equal to the interval. That's because it needs a little bit of time in between each shot. So for example here, if I set it to 20 seconds and then hit the check mark, when I go back here to the bottom and swipe up, you're going to see it forces the interval to 25 seconds as the lowest. You can't go any lower than that. But if I go back here and I change this back to 15 seconds, hit the check mark, and then go back up here, you'll see we now have the 20-second interval again. So really what you're doing here is you're trying to find the best balance between interval And obviously the interval is how many frames you're going to get. So each 20 seconds, you're going to get 1 frame for your final time lapse. The longer your interval, the less frames you're going to have, and the shorter night lapse you're going to have. So that's where I find the happy medium in this case to be 20 seconds for the interval, 15 seconds for the shutter speed. And just to review, these are the settings over here. So this is what I have for exposure. And of course it is way overexposed during the daytime, but these settings will be perfect at nighttime. So if you'd like to learn more about how to get the very best footage with the Action 6, including my cinematic best settings and some free LUTs I have, absolutely free, check out this playlist right here.